Next, from Springfield, we talked to Bob Myers, the president of the Associated Beer Distributors of Illinois, about the beer distributors' standards they use to protect consumers from unsafe and tarnished alcohol. This runs about 10 minutes.
Bob Myers, thanks for joining us again on the Illinois Channel. Recently, it's been in the news, some tourists going travels of late down to Mexico at some of the resorts, and tragically there have been some individuals who have actually died, and it turned out because they were imbibing brand X alcohol. Apparently some of these resorts were putting their own brew in some of the bottles and serving it to customers. It raises the question that we want to discuss with you: how secure are we in Illinois, but also in America? What is the process here to make sure that that sort of thing does not happen?
Well, the three-tier system makes sure that things like that never happen, not only in the state of Illinois, but in the United States itself. What you have is a regulatory system that tracks each and every bottle of alcohol. It's the most transparent and most accountable system out there. What you had in Mexico was a situation where some of these resorts were purchasing alcohol from manufacturers that they didn't even know. They weren't licensed manufacturers. They were just simply somebody on the street that was saying this is brand X alcohol and it's safe. There was no regulatory structure in place to make sure that that product was safe. With the three-tier system, the system that we have in Illinois, it is a system that distributors may only purchase from licensed manufacturers. We make sure that that product is absolutely safe before it enters into the marketplace. Once we receive that product, we then give it to only licensed retailers. So licensed retailers may only purchase that product from us, and we may only purchase that product from licensed manufacturers. So at no time there's any counterfeit alcohol out there.
And when we talk about retailers, of course, we can visualize going into a convenience store kind of thing, but that also applies, I would guess, to restaurants and bars and those kind of things.
Absolutely. Any place that sells alcohol legally in the state of Illinois, it has to go through the three-tier system, and that system protects the consumers. Not only does the three-tier system protect the consumer, but also the distributors, a distributorship that is independent, which they all are. Because of the fact that they're independent, they are able to give the consumers the most variety out there. You don't have situations where a large manufacturer has control over that distributorship. That distributorship determines which products it's going to carry. They are not solely required to only carry that product exclusively. The distributor can carry any product that it wishes, and that's the reason why you see so many of these craft brands out there. You go to your local grocery store and you go through the soda pop aisle, you're going to see probably two brands. You're going to see a Coke and you're going to see a Pepsi. Okay, go through in that same grocery store, go through your beer aisle, and you're going to see hundreds of different labels, different brands, things like that. That's the reason why you have that, is because of the fact that distributors are independent. They can bring consumers much more variety. But on the same token, on the same hand, you've got a situation where that consumer not only gets variety, but they are assured that the product that they are going to drink is safe and is the most fresh product available.
Actually, that was going to be my next question, which is that if we go in, you don't want to go in and buy some beer that was put on the shelf a year ago.
Right.
So who's responsible for making sure? Is it the convenience store who makes sure that product is moving and that you're not buying some out-of-date product?
That's a great question. It's the distributor's responsibility to make sure that that product is not what we call out of code. Generally speaking, you're looking at about a 90-day shelf life. There's some brands, obviously, that have longer, but generally speaking, it's about a 90-day shelf life. And it's the distributor's responsibility to check those code dates and to pull that product off the shelf so that those consumers receive the most fresh product available. So yes, it's the responsibility of the distributor. And we will exchange that product to the retailer without cost. It's exchange, without cost to the retailer. So we're making sure that that product is absolutely fresh.
And I would guess just as far as that the distributor keeps the inventory. If they know Bill's Convenience Store, to make up a name, if they got 10 cases and they only sold 8 and they had to take 2 cases back, maybe the next time he just drops off 8 instead of the 10, is something like that, so they know kind of what the demand is. Does it matter if on beer, if it's in cans or bottles as far as the shelf life? Just out of curiosity.
No, actually, it's not. You have code dates for both the can and the bottle. The bottles. It used to be years ago. It mattered. What kind of bottle was it? A clear bottle? Was it a green bottle? Was it a brown bottle? Today, it's pretty standard, a 90-day shelf life.
And when we look at these tragedies, as we discuss in Mexico, and of course you're representing the beer distributors, to your knowledge, is it the same as far as the spirits and distribution of the liqueurs around the state?
With spirits and with wine, they also go through a 3-tier system, yes. So you would not have the situation that you have down in Mexico where it's a tainted rum or it's a tainted vodka or whatever the case may be. Those products do go through a 3-tier system. The quality and check is in place here in the state of Illinois and in the United States. They don't have that, obviously, in countries such as Mexico and India and Russia and all these other places where you hear about retailers purchasing black market alcohol that's been tainted, and you don't see that in Illinois or in the United States like you do in other countries.
And then the other thing that really doesn't apply to the Mexican situation, but relative to the beer distributors and distribution of spirits, I guess, is part of that 3-tier system is that we don't allow someone who's 12 years old to go in and buy a beer, right?
Right, exactly right. We're one of those rare industries that the government tells us who we can sell to, when we can sell it, where we can sell it, how we can sell it, things of that nature. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. You need to have regulation with this product. We have to realize that alcohol is a drug. It's an intoxicant and can be abused. And with the 3-tier system, the regulatory system, that makes sure that, helps, I guess I should say, make sure that those products are not abused.
Yeah, at least the retailer is carding people. Frankly, even I've gotten carded of late. But on just a separate issue, and I'm kind of curious, we see one of the changes that we've seen in the beer industry over the last 10 years, I suppose, or so, is just this proliferation of the craft brews. And I'm just kind of curious, what are we to make of that? I guess as far as distribution, it probably doesn't matter too much, but is that picking up? Does that mean a decline of some of the major brands, or not? Maybe not. Maybe there's just more consumption. But is that having any impact one way or another, really, on the beer distribution industry?
Well, consumption is down for alcohol. I mean, there's no question about that. Unfortunately, there's only so much shelf space out there that's available. I think it's wonderful, though, that all these brands are coming up and all these different manufacturers. I mean, when I first started with ABDI back in 1993, there were literally 2 breweries. One was a brew pub, one was an actual brewer. Today, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 130 brewers. I mean, it's just grown exponentially.
Of the craft.
Of the craft, yeah, absolutely. So I think it's wonderful. I think it's good for the industry. I like the fact that our members can distribute just hundreds of different brands. It does give the consumer variety. It's gotten to the point where it's somewhat overwhelming when you walk into, your local liquor store and you go through the beer aisle, or your local grocery store, and you go through the beer aisle and you see all the hundreds of different brands.
And it goes back to your earlier point. You might be a name brand distributor. I mean, maybe to use a name, maybe Anheuser-Busch sets you up as a distributor, or but you're going to be carrying brands, as you say. They're an independent business, and so as you get these craft brews or different things, they're going to carry any number of products. It's not just the Anheuser-Busch.
Absolutely. Just because of the fact that your signature brand may be Anheuser-Busch, or your signature brand may be Miller or Coors, or whatever the case may be, because of the fact that in Illinois we do have independent distributors, those distributors can determine whatever brand of beer that they want to sell. I mean, if it's good beer, they're going to sell it. And there's a lot of good beer out there right now.
Myers, it's good to know that we have a line of protection that hopefully when people go to Mexico, they don't run into that anymore. But thank you for joining us and explain the system.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. Good to see you.